I should probably introduce these two guys. Should I not?
Go right ahead and do that. Absolutely.
Okay, Rod Bannister. I got your Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame kind of bio here. Grew up playing with the Burnaby Junior A Cablevision, 3 Minto Cups in a row. I think Paul Dal Monte might have done that as well. 12 seasons in the WLA, 6 Mann Cup appearances, 81, 89, and 91 coming out the victor, 267 games, save percentage over 800, and 143 assists, playoff MVP in 83. Just a storied career here for Rod Bannister. And Rod, I'm not sure where, I'm going to ask everybody this, I think. So tell me how you found the game of lacrosse, or how the game of lacrosse found you. How'd you start playing?
Actually, a neighbor was playing, and he had an extra stick, and so we started playing in the alley. And then I learned that my mom's dad had been involved with the Berards back in the 50s or whatever it was, or the Peony Indians back in the day. So they were thrilled that I wanted to pick up the game, and so signed up with Hastings Bluebirds, and away I went. And
then how did the goaltending stuff come about?
Well, I joked that they picked the fat kid and put him in net.
That was it. That's kind of what they did back then, though, right?
That's what they still do. That's still
absolutely.
And did you take to it right away, or did you take a while to kind of get into it?
I didn't like the first couple of games, but then the coach kept encouraging me, and then it was a weird situation where the B teams played in the same division as the A teams, and so they stuck all the first-year kids on the B team. So we would lose games like 17-0 and 15-1 and that kind of thing. But, I was making 85 saves, so they said stick with it. And so I did.
Did you ever come close to getting a shutout?
I got a shutout in Pee Wee when we did a tour of Ontario with, I was actually a pickup with the New Westminster team, and we got a shutout in Cornwall, Ontario.
That's pretty cool. I think.
Hey, Manger, can you hear us right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Manger, who has the record for the most shutout minutes in WLA history? Do you know that by chance?
I would say that would be Mr. Bannister and myself.
Well, I think it was you, sir. With 11 seconds left, that somebody from Vancouver ruined it on you.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, I know who it was. It was Stroopy, but no, that's not a record because somebody actually got a shutout. But me and Hawk hold the record for the longest streak without a goal going in.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. I didn't have it right.
No,
you guys were a pretty amazing tandem.
Well, I learned
they only had to protect the 4x4 nets here, Paul. Like there wasn't a lot of space to shoot the ball in back then.
Well, the pads were way smaller.
That's true.
In fact, I was going to wear my jersey, but I don't know how I got it on with the pads.
Well, this is the funny thing.
Pretty tight as it is.
We were supposed to have Walter on tonight. He's not feeling well. He did not fit the mold in terms of body shape, as I recall. He was a lot skinnier.
Walter was like Dallas. He was agile. He moved around.
Yeah. We'll get him on another time. But
let me ask you this, Hawk. You played with some pretty fantastic players over your playing career, but maybe in practice, did you have a teammate that had your number? Who was the hardest guy to stop when you were in practice?
Well, I think it would have to be the legend Wayne Goss. He would come in on net with the overhand shot, and you didn't know which way he was going with it. It was, he could push it one way or pull it back the other way. Very, very deceiving.
Yeah, I mean, most players now, Manger, you know this, they have their favorite corner, and if they don't shoot for that corner, then they kind of have their backup move. But Rod, you're telling me that Goss could just anywhere at any time.
Yeah. You didn't know where it was going, and it was always overhand. It was unreal.
And what about? Sorry, I'll go. Mayor, go ahead.
Twisters back in the day.
Goss can shoot the twister.
You see the way the kids shoot the twister, Hawk? Fuck, we'd have been broken.
Yes.
Like those twisters just break a goalie's knee.
So talking about that kind of a move, actually something that came up this week's Queens of King Park, or Kings of Queens Park from last week. I think it was this week, the Beyond Beyond section. And I remember, and I think it was you, Hawk, who was there at least one of the nights when Beyonda came for an exhibition, and he was in the intermission. I think Zachar and you were both subject to him going in and doing the windmills and all that kind of stuff. And I actually had a lot of sympathy for the goalies when they did that. Not only did you lose your intermission when he did that, but he would come down and just stand there and throw about 85 fakes before he threw the ball in the net. And he did it with a Woody. Was that you that he did some of that too?
No, I remember it was between the periods of one of my games, but I wasn't in the net. It might have been Zachar. He was a real showman and really brought the crowd in.
Hawk, you were playing that game. Of course, it was Zachar. It was the intermission.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that the wrong way, but I just want to say I got to play against Jack Beyonda once. It was the Jean Andre tournament.
Yeah.
Back my son Riley was playing, and Jack came out, and I was the demonstration goalie. I was, I jumped around, I danced at all his fakes, which I never move on a fake. But
I was gonna say, you just stand there.
After it's over, Jack comes up and he goes, "Oh, thanks for making me look good." I'm like, "Jack, I wasn't making you look good, buddy. I never dance on a fake." But he has one shooting string in his stick and the ball just sits on it. That's why he can do the windmill. Nobody does it like that. Like, I've never seen anybody that can do what he did with, I saw some when I was in Bantam and Brampton. I saw him at a Masters game, and he was a little old then, and all he did was sit at center and wait for the pass, and then he'd go down on the breakaway and he'd throw the 6 windmills. But yeah, very, very entertaining, and just, he grew the game a lot. Jack did.
Huge
I feel like we're leaving my guy Dish out of here a little bit.
Yeah,
so let's get Matt Dish. Let's get Dish in here. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of years with you in New Westminster, Matty, and some tough playoff years against the Adnacks there. Let's not kid ourselves. But take me back to Fergus, I believe, where
Arthur. That's always the fun thing for me, is because I grew up in that Fergus Arthur area, so that's where I started back in my day. And so I, growing up there, my dad worked at the arena, so started in hockey, but then at age 6 I saw the lacrosse games and I watched the Thistles play, and I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. And so and I started off right as a goalie. I said, I want to be a goalie right away. My dad was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "No, I want to have
the long." So for people that don't know, Matt Disher has the longest arms I've ever seen on a human being, where he can stand up straight and his arms dangle down past his knees. So you never really had to kind of crouch over like most goalies to protect the lower part of the net. But you just got your dad to take you to the arena, and it was like,
he threw a couple at me, knocked me over, and I got up and I loved it. I didn't care one bit. I just started right for the goalie, and I loved it because I got to watch a lot of good lacrosse growing up too. Like the Thistles were good back in those days. They had to, lacrosse was at a bit of a crossroads in the 80s, or late 70s and early 80s. So, and I remember. And I don't know if Rod, if you were on these teams, did you come back with the New West teams that did that I think it was called the Pioneer Cup.
Pioneer Cup, that's right. Yeah,
where New West and Fergus, who were the 2 oldest lacrosse franchises still active in Canada at the time, would play each other. They play a little wee series against it. New West came to Fergus the one year, and I got to see the Seven Bellies for the very first time. And I thought that was great.
So, how old were you, Dish? How old were you?
Oh, geez, I would have been 6 when that's what my first year of lacrosse.
Yeah,
would have been I think I bet you Jack might know better than anybody. which year was which? Which year New West came to Fergus, and which year Fergus went to New West? But
right,
it was 82 and 83. They did those.
Jack has a story he wants to throw in here.
Okay, let's hear it.
That story about Jack Beyonda. He played for us in 58 and 59. In 1960, he went to Nanaimo. And he showed up one night at Queen's Park, and he lost his stick. He left it on the plane. That was Jack. He never looked after his equipment very well. And I had a stick I used to play around with. And he says, "Can you loan me a stick?" I said, "Yeah, you can use mine, So he took my stick. We played Nanaimo. We beat them 9-7. He got 4 goals and 3 assists with a stick he never had in his hand before.
This just,
That's
it
amazing.
absolutely blows my mind that you can recall stats and the scores from 1956. Like,
Yeah.
Jake, can I cut in there and just say this? A lot of people say, Manger, I can't believe you remember all those games from way back then. Jack Fulton Sr., I am so amazed that, because you know the scores, you remember where you were. Like, you never are going to get the Alzheimer's because you remember everything about everything. And I'm amazed at it. Like the scores, because when it's that much fun, you just remember it, right? It's like you'll never forget it. So I'm pretty, Jack, I give you kudos.
Exactly.
It just sits there.
Yeah, there's not very many people who've been as committed to us or an organization as Jack has been for so long.
100%.
And doesn't want really any kudos about it at all, just likes to be a part of it. That's really when we talk about the family of the Sandbillies, that's kind of the perfect example of
I don't
it.
care if he doesn't want kudos. Jack, you're still the best.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
question about it.
I think you're gonna find a replacement for me.
Yeah,
I'll be 96 in about 2 months.
yeah. You might. We better start the executive search. There's a small chance that we might need to do that.
Looking good, though.
I
Let's
was
get
gonna
back to
ask-
the goalies here.
Yeah, Manger, I was going to ask you. We talk a little bit about how you came out to the Bellies. How did you end up out here? Because you're another Eastern guy.
Well, I came out for the 86 Minto with Peterborough, with Ogie and Kevin Evans. We were the only 21-year-olds.
Now, how'd you end up in Peterborough though? Because you're a Brampton guy, are you know?
Jake, you know how. It's a Dean McLeod thing. You know. Sorry, Dean, I didn't mean to slag you, but you know how Ontario works, right? In my fourth year of junior, I got MVP of the league. So Peterborough, we're supposed to finish like fourth that year. Brampton, we're supposed to finish first. We had Jim Veltman, Troy Cordingley. You know, we were supposed to be good. We were like 4-20, and Peterborough were 16-0 and whatever. So on the trading deadline, Dean McLeod made a deal. I went to Peterborough, and the rest was history. I came out to the Minto, and then I talked with Coquitlam. It was Bill Bradley that brought me out because he was a good friend of Dean McLeod's, and they brought me out. My first year out here was 87 with Luthwaite and John Allen were my coaches.
And Paul Dal Monte is the one that brought you out for our Burnaby Junior A, if I'm not mistaken, Dish, right? And you as well. You got out here like many other Eastern players that have put on a Sandbillies jersey. And once you got out here and got a little taste of the West Coast, you met your wife, you had a family, you never went back.
Well, I always wanted to come out west because, like, I did have family out west, and we came back. We came out quite a few times, and we even actually lived in Kitimat for a couple of years back when I was really young. But no, I always loved it out west. And then we came out for Expo 86. The Thistles were playing in the President's Cup that year, and we came out and did all of that. And my dad was involved with the team, so we came out and watched that. And then it just happened to come around that when I was playing junior, Burnaby juniors came back and did a tour of the East because they were prepping for their big run,
right?
Of in those like mid to those late 90s years. And yeah, I met up with Paul and Doc and Mr. Crosby there, and we hit it off, and we decided that I would like to come out in my last year of junior, and we worked that out. It was great. It worked out great for me.
You brought your Bacharach helmet in tow, and
I love it.
Yes, that was iconic. I forgot all about that. I can't believe it.
Well, that was another great thing about being able to. When I got to juniors, that I was wearing that style of helmet in minor until they said you couldn't do it anymore because it had to be CSA approved or whatever. And then in junior, it didn't matter anymore. And that was it. Like, I just loved that because the guys, when I was in my age, a younger age, that was what people were wearing, were those old field style helmets. And
as soon as you could cut bars on your face mask and stuff like that, I was loving it. I stuck the football face mask on my helmet.
I don't know how you guys did that.
Until I took a Woody on my eyeball, and then things changed pretty quickly. Hey, let me ask you guys, each goaltender, why you chose the number that you wear. Hawk, maybe we'll start with you.
Well, I chose 35 when I arrived in Burnaby. And it was mainly because of Tony Esposito from the Blackhawks. So they asked me what number I wanted, and I was a big fan of Tony Esposito. So I went with 35 and stuck with it through my career.
39 Dish.
It was just whatever was available. I grew up in the small towns. Every goalie jersey, because I played goalie for hockey too, was number one, right? In the small towns. Everybody you had about 16 jerseys, 1 through 15, and 1 was always the goalie number. So I always had number 1 all the way up through. But when I came to the bellies, it's like, this is the numbers that are available. I'm like,
They
doesn't matter to me.
That
Just
was
give
it.
me a jersey.
But then you stuck with that though, right?
Well, it never. That was one thing I can say. A number never mattered to me.
I don't have to push in.
Oh, there's Howie.
Hey, Howie. Howie asked Don whether or not he should talk, and I think we just found out.
Yeah.
You can ask Manger because he probably has a better story.
It's all right, Howie. We don't have a text setting for Peterborough boys have had a little difficulty here. Manger was having
Manger, you shouldn't be
difficulty
chirping
so
anybody because you had a little difficulty yourself. Okay, give me number 1, Manger. Was it just what you got handed right away and you just stuck with it?
No, it was, I always wore 1 right from novice, tyke. And when I got to New West, I was with Hawk, and Hawk didn't wear 1, so I was lucky enough to get my number. When I first came to Coquitlam, Bill Thomas wore 1, so I had to wear 30 for a bit. So when I went to New West, I wore 1, and when Dish got there, I was wearing 1. But after I left, didn't you grab 1, Dish?
No, I didn't care. I was
No,
like, whatever. They gave me 39, so I just, why not? Like,
there hasn't been a 39 since, I don't think either.
Yeah, well, that's Doug Zach. Doug Zach was 39, and
No, I said since Dish.
here, but
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what I
wore
thought.
1 because it was the first one I was given, and I'm pretty partial to the number 1 and 11. I think they're lucky, so it was always 1 or 11.
Well, let me ask you this, Manger. Like it's funny because you overlapped with Hawk and Dish. You were kind of the transition.
And Walter.
Yeah, but I know you really looked up to Hawk during your playing career because you always talked about him to me when we would talk about stuff. What was it about Hawk's game that you really admired?
Well, Hawk had been there and done that. He'd won how many Mintos with Burnaby?
3.
And he he'd won his man cups. When I was 16 years old, Jake, I was in Brampton Arena watching Hawk lose against Brampton. John McCauley was the coach of Brampton in 1980. Great series. All I remember was Hawk scratching his ball sack the whole thing. But anyway, I got you there. But the biggest thing, Jake, to answer your question, when it was playoffs, Hawk would run around the top of the arena just to get his endurance going because, he wasn't, he didn't go to the gym like Jordy Dean and the other guys. Hawk and we'd go to the pizza place. So
That explains why he was a little itchy down there. It might explain everything right now.
When I saw Rod Bannister running around the top of the arena and I saw the way the boys looked at it, when Hawk left, that's what I did, right? It's like, I learned that from Hawk. It's like if your team believes in you, then that goes a long way.
And you've had the opportunity to play in Peterborough, in Brampton, in Coquitlam, in New Westminster.
Some great coaches.
Yeah, some pretty storied franchises as well. But you really know kind of what it means to be a belly. And I think later on in your career, you kind of became like the team guy. You would take in the young Eastern guys and room them up. And
Billy Hieltjes' daughter was born at my house. Yes.
There you go. And you would have the barbecues in the backyard lacrosse. And you took a lot of pride in being that guy on the team and kind of creating and carrying on that belly culture.
We didn't have Todd Lorenz anymore. Somebody had to do it.
That's true. That's true. And Dish, early in your career, you had a bit of a different style than Manger, but you got to kind of watch him. And then before you became the starter there, what did you learn from Rick Mang in your time?
Well, I got to see a lot of goalies because I got to play when I got to come out for Burnaby for my last year of junior. I got to see a lot of the senior games. And I got to see a lot of the players. I got to see Dallas. I got to see, Zacher and Mang play in New West. And because that would have been 96, I think. Yeah. So, yeah. So that 97. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I got to see a lot of those guys. But a lot of my influences were the guys growing up in Ontario, right? And
Thank
so,
you.
Geez, there were some goalies that played for Fergus that were always really good. A guy named Jim Watkins was really good. Guy named Rob Mason. But I kind of just learned a style where it's just like I preferred to move around. a lot. Like, you know, like Hawk and Mangers, like the equipment wasn't as big back then. So,
And you couldn't really see the ball all that well from outside, but you were one of the best goalies I've ever seen when guys were right on top of you.
Yeah, I know. I prefer to have the guy in on close on me. I know.
Hey, Dish, you know this. If they get too close, they're killing themselves because they lose their angles, right? It's like if you get too close to the goalie, you don't see any net.
Well, the only guy I didn't want is Howie there. I didn't want him. I'm glad I didn't have to play against him very often.
That's bruising. That's bruising.
In close, he was the one who could pick me apart. From out far, no, I could stop his shots from outside. He's one of the few that in close, he could always find a hole.
Yeah. And how he snapped it. It was a snapshot.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question. Sorry, I'll jump in here.
Yeah.
You played alongside Walter, and you played alongside Manger. You guys had to distribute those turns. How did that get done in those days and still maintain kind of the team feeling? You know, I remember a lot of one game to the next, you'd be changing up. How was it done by those GMs and coaches back in the day when you were playing?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Usually the coach would alternate, you know, every other game pretty much until the playoffs and somebody got onto a, you know, run, if you will, and got a hot streak.
So for you guys, you just kind of knew you had that rhythm. It took away some of that, if any kind of tension or rivalry between goalies. You just knew you're going to switch up.
Pretty much. Yeah. I think, I think we pretty much had it worked out that it would be every other game. And, you know, we had the luxury of, you know, with most of our teams having sort of two goalies that could be considered starters on any other team.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a nice luxury to have. And I think it paid some dividends for the squad.
I got to ask all three of you about the old wooden floor. The new wooden floor there at Queen's Park is beautiful, immaculate. You get the truest bounce that you can off the wood, but not so much back in the old minty wooden floor. How challenging was that as a goaltender when you had bounce shots kind of fired at you and you didn't know whether it was just going to skip off the thing or bounce into the top corner? How'd you have to adjust your game off the wood?
You go first, Hawk. You got the most experience on that one.
It was definitely a challenge. I remember losing a playoff game to Victoria that actually knocked us out of the playoffs, and we were in sudden death overtime, and Jim Meredith came over the top and did this drop spinner shot, and it spun off the floor and into the top corner. And we were out, and they won the Mann Cup that year, and we had gone to the Mann Cup the previous 3 years, so it was a heartbreaker to lose it that way. But he had an interesting shot, but yeah, it was definitely a challenge. You didn't know from time to time where it was going to go.
Manger, how about you? Did you ever have any bad bounces that you remember, or maybe a bounce pass outlet that just went into the crowd 10 rows or something?
Yeah, my best story from the wooden floor is that in practice in games, when they would bounce it, it didn't bounce true. It would bounce low. But my best story is we were in a playoff game. I got a loose ball. I threw the ball down the floor. It was going way wide. Eric Cowson standing right beside me, and it hit a board, and it went right. And he goes, "Oh my God, it hit a board." And I'm like, "Yeah, it did." And it went in. So I scored 2 goals in the WLA, and one was because of the wooden floor board. And hey, Steve Manning didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks after that.
How about you, Dish? I know I threw a lot of bounce shots past you in practice, but any nightmares from the old wooden floor?
When I first came out to play junior, I was playing for Burnaby, so we had to play New West. And first time I'd ever played on a wood floor. They didn't have any left in Ontario. I'd never played one, and I absolutely hated it. I was like, "What the heck is this? I can't, like, there's goals going in that I didn't have a clue." I'm like, "No way would that bounce have worked." But then when I came and played for the senior New West team, I got to play on it, practice on it. I loved it after that. And I loved the old wooden floor. The new wooden floor was great too. I got to play on it. But and then I loved it because I was a flopper, right? So I went down.
Oh, I can picture it now, man.
In practice, yeah, you guys, I wouldn't go down in practice. I just let you guys do your hook shots straight down off the floor, like whatever. But yeah, in games, no, I loved it because it was soft. You'd flop down, it wouldn't hurt like concrete on your knees. It was great, and I loved that. Got used to it. I loved it after that.
The reason Dave Durante played till the age that he did.
Yeah,
Well, he's going to be on here a little later on, so we'll ask him about that. But to tell you, it's a lot different than any other, even the wood floor in Burnaby. It's the springiness of it that makes a difference. And even with the new surface, it seems to me like it's got sweet spots and it's got some deader spots. Have you guys had a chance to go out there and do any kind of masters lacrosse or toss the ball around up there on the floor since it's been changed?
I haven't played on the new floor, but the one thing I remember from the old floor, especially as a kid, is the sound that would come out of Queen's Park when you ran on that thing.
Yeah, it echoed a lot. Yeah,
nothing else like it.
Jake, the thing you just said about the sound, I came out here in midget for the midget nationals, got shit kicked by Cliff Ronning and the Jack Crosby team, but I went to a junior A game at Queen's Park, and like you just said, Jake, it was Burnaby against New West junior A. I'm pretty sure it was Pelzer in net because the goalie kept running up trying to get a goal, so that was probably Pelzer, and it was just the sound. You could hear every footstep, and it was just Queen's Park Arena. There's no arena like it. Like, it's so awesome.
I just want to make a note that we didn't expect a few things tonight. I didn't expect the College Place Hotel to get mentioned twice. Didn't expect Kitimat to come up, and I sure as hell didn't expect somebody to describe Troy Pelzer as running.
No, not Troy Pelzer, Jim Pelzer.
Oh, okay. Well,
goalie Pelzer.
Oh, there you go.
That makes way more sense now.
Exactly.
Rick, did you know that you finished your career, well, over 100 games played, but a save percentage of 81.35? That is still the best among all goalies. Did you know that?
I've been told by a couple people, and all I can say to that, Jake, is I'm pretty lucky I played on good teams. When I first came, it was with Gadnax, and they were a very good team. We had good defense. We had Chris Cowie. We had John Hedlund, and then I made the change in '89 and went to the Bellies, and look what I was surrounded with, right? Mike Kettles, Eric Callison, Don McNeil, Paul Jones, right? Like, we had some really good defense. Let's just say that.
Well, how old are you now?
56.
What's the last time you played a competitive lacrosse game?
Well, I played Masters this year, but it didn't really count because it's Masters. So
yeah, no, I'm not talking about like senior B, senior C.
Oh, senior B, senior C, we won probably 10 years ago, maybe.
So well into your late 40s, you were still.
Yeah. I got the big senior C championship at like 40. Yeah.
And where does that, like, I know you love playing the game, but that takes some pretty serious love and dedication to continue to play that long and that competitive. Where does that fire come from?
Still having fun, Jake. It's like coaching the little kids, right? Still having fun. I coach my little novice grandson, and my daughter's helping me, Phoenix, and it's like she's having more fun than all the players, right? It's like it's about it's the lacrosse family, right? It's like it's just so much fun, and it's passion, right? It's like anybody that knows the game of lacrosse knows that it's a family thing and it's passionate, right?
It's the parking lot after the game. Let's not
exactly.
get
The BLBs,
well, not
right,
with the novice team, Jake. Not with the novice team.
No.
Now, the parking lot beers, I still see Manger almost every Sunday. Howie has been out for Masters. Dish, I haven't seen you in a couple of years out at Box, but that was actually a question I had for you. Hawk, do you still get to go out and play any kind of Masters at all where you're living right now, or you have any involvement with the game anymore?
The last time I played was field lacrosse in Hawaii, I think about 2016.
You're like a good Hawk. I think you can strap the pads back on.
I played attack.
Yeah, there you go.
None of us are going to play goal.
Recently, in 2019, I was an assistant with the coaching the Hong Kong team that played in the World Championship in Langley. So that was a great experience.
And what about you, Dish? I know you were a little GMing out there in Delta. I don't think you're doing that this year.
No. I did it for a couple of years, but trying to do 2 teams, GM for 2 teams, the A and the B team was a little much. So, and then COVID shut everything down anyway. So that was it for me. So
what, you're not, no Masters, no
well,
GM?
I've been playing. I got back into the Masters just this past winter season. So I played there.
Yeah,
Big, he was MVP goalie. Don't let him. He's being
I know.
humble. He's being humble.
Well, the reason I love Masters is like everybody else is trying to be competitive. I'm like, I don't care. I'm trying to tell the other guys how to score, do this, do that.
well, Russ
What
Sturm said
about
it
you
best,
still get out
you know.
and watch some junior A or some WA lacrosse? You out and about in the rinks?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get out to see at least 1 or 2 Salmon Bellies games every year. Didn't get out to a Warriors game this year. I was kind of disappointed in myself with that.
Shame on you, yeah.
Yeah, but no, and obviously, like I would keep tabs with the juniors once they got started up again. Glad to see Hayden Dixon got drafted by New West, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Troy's son, by the way?
What was that?
Is that Troy Dixon's son?
No, it's not.
No, he's not
Totally.
related to Troy or Curtis.
That's
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for
His
clearing
sons
that.
are Adam and Carter and
Right.
Yeah.
But I got to see him when I was involved with the Delta Islanders.
Well, tell the people about Hayden Dixon, because I think Bellies fans are in for a real treat here, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are. Like he's got one of the most naturally gifted offensive talents I've seen in a long time. Just he's got the net awareness. You know how guys can see through their stick. He's got that. I don't know if it's natural or how it came about it, but when I saw him, I'm like, he can naturally see through his stick. He's a really great player. He's tough. He's strong. So he'll be a guy. I think he'll be senior ready real quick. So
Hey,
I haven't got a chance to see him much. Because did he played in the NLL? Did he not?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see a chance to see how he looked in that. But I just know how he looked when I saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So that's all I can
part of the
speak
future
to.
for that Roughnecks team there, alongside of Tyler Pace on the right side. Jake, before we continue on, a couple of things I want to do here. We're right at 8:30.
Okay.
So first, I want to show a total on the auction and the 50-50. And then I want to check in with our guys. We've got a bunch of other alumni who are supposed to start at 8:30, and so we see them there. We want to welcome them in just a second too. But let's put up a total first and show everybody. Oh, I've got the wrong website up there. So you know what? I won't be able to share the screen on it right now, but I can. Oh, here it is. We can share the screen. My apologies. So here's where we are right now. Let's do a refresh, and we are at just $5,600, and the 50-50 is at $1,665 at a game. We got 25 minutes till we draw that sucker, and we can do better than that at Queen's Park Arena. We got Queen's Park Arena. Me and Jack are sitting here in the boardroom. Jake is simulating it. We've got a practice going on there. It's just like a real first season opener here. We normally would be playing tonight in a regular season, but we start a little later this year. So everybody pretend you're at the arena and buy your 50-50s. Go to our website, sambellies.com, and buy a ticket.
Super easy. Takes 2 minutes.
Yep, I've got mine.
Yep, 3 for $5, 7 for 10, 50 for 20, or 150 for 50. And we're drawing that in 25 minutes. And then the auction, somebody outbid me on that, on the stylish alumni jacket, the collector's item that Jack is wearing. I want to point out there is a load. This is amazing. If you got a gardener in your family, there's a load of topsoil there. It's worth $225 delivered to anywhere in the Burnaby, Coquitlam, New West area. And it's like right now $100 is all it's bid on it. So folks, go to the auction site. The auction goes until 6 o'clock tomorrow. The 50-50 tickets are only on sale for about 25 more minutes. So I wanted to make sure we send people to that. We'll draw that ticket here in about 25 minutes. And Jake, I'll let you introduce our other esteemed guests. We'll get Paul and Ben, if they have a video, to go ahead and turn themselves on. And we've got Howie there as well. So I'll let you introduce the gang.
Okay. Well, thanks for the goalies for showing up. Well done there, fellas. And I'm sure we'll see you around the rinks here soon this summer.
Thank
You
you,
guys are
Big Daddy.
welcome to hang or welcome to leave, whatever you want to do.
We're not kicking you out. You just can't talk anymore. That's it.
That might be hard for them.
Sure. Oh, there's the dude. We got the dude here. Let me introduce the dude first. Out of Burnaby, BC, 619 games in between the Sandbellies and the Adanacs and the WLA. Also Quebec City of the National Pro League. 19 seasons here for Dave Durrani. And forgive me, because there was a little faux pas on the Hall of Fame website here, but the totals may be a little bit off. 719 goals, 1,032 assists for 1,751 points. This is what blows my freaking mind right here. 19 goals. 9 Man Cup appearances for Dave Durrani, winning 5 of them, including the MVP in 76. Welcome to Dave Durrani. How are you doing?
Really well. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you here. I believe we got Paul Dal Monte on with us as well. And if I can introduce Paul, winner of 3 Minto Cups, 3 Man Cups with the Bellies, 8 straight consecutive championships in BC, and Minto Cup appearances, as well as the head coach of the Burnaby Junior A Lakers, former coach of the Ravens, and if I'm not mistaken, inducted into the Lacrosse Hall of Fame 5 times over as a player, as a builder, and in the team category as well. Welcome to the WA Commissioner. Monte, do we got Ben Hieltjes on with us?
We do. And before we go to Ben, somebody's got some audio in the background. So if if you can mute while you're non-talking, that would be good, or turn down whatever's playing in the background.
I feel like that might be Doug. That's good.
Is that you? Maybe Doug. I'll mute you for now, Doug, and we'll see if that's you. It was. Okay, so Doug, you've got some audio in the background, and maybe you can turn it down when you have a chance. It's something's going on there. Anyways, back to you, Big Two.
Well, let's introduce Doug Deschner, who has had quite a storied field lacrosse career, but also a 2-time Man Cup champion as well. One with Brooklyn, one with the Bellies, and 1990 Canadian National Men's Field Lacrosse team as well. So, Doug, I think you just have maybe your volume cranked up a little too high, or unless you got another device streaming in the background or not, but welcome to Feed the Fish. Maybe your volume cranked up a little too high.
Got some reverb happening there. Something happening.
He's got the live stream. Tell him to shut off the Facebook.
Oh, that's what's going on. If you're watching the live stream at the same time, it's delayed, so that's why. There's some reverb happening there. Something.
He's got the live stream. Tell him to shut off the Facebook.
So
We'll come back to Doug. We'll let Doug figure that out.
Yeah, mute. Do we got Ogie on? I can't even see everybody.
Ogie is not able to join us tonight, but we do have Ben. You were about to introduce him, and we have Howie. So
okay, well, we'll leave.
I'm gonna mute Doug for a sec to let him figure it out.
How about that? Ben Hieltjes, New West native, 249 games with the New Westminster Sandbellies between 86 and 95, accumulating 338 goals, 424 assists for 762 points, a 6-time All-Star, won the scoring title, most valuable player in 87, league MVP in 95, and the Man Cup MVP in 89. 5 Man Cup appearances, winning 3 times, 2 scoring titles, MVP honors in junior lacrosse as well, and a member of the Canadian National Field Lacrosse team in 1990 and 94. Pretty good. Ben Hieltjes, welcome to Feed the Fish. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Jake. I'm great, thanks. But how come you didn't talk about any of my defensive stats?
Well, I don't
like,
recall.
why don't those show up?
I don't recall any of those.
Defensive guys never get any credit. I played both sides of the floor.
Okay.
And the fighting
Back
too.
and
Don't forget
forth.
about the fighting. You actually did have a fight, I think, didn't you, Ben? You had one?
I fought about 3 times, always fought the toughest guys in the league. And once they saw me fight, they said, let's not fight that guy anymore. Leave him alone.
The windmill approach threw him off.
Yeah.
And last but not least, my former captain in Craig Stevenson, 17-year career in the WLA out of Peterborough, Ontario. 3 Minto Cups for Howie, but never a Man Cup, unfortunately. I might have had a little something to do with that. I feel a bit responsible. But one of the best shots I've ever seen, over 1,000 points in the WLA as well. I think I was actually there for point number 1,000. He got to 1196, 743 assists, 453 goals. And the man they call Howie, Craig Stevenson. Howie, how are you?
You're going to have to unmute there, Howard.
Get Don on the case, Howard.
Yeah, get
Come
Don
on.
to take care of it. There we
Is
go.
that better?
There you go. You're perfect, bud.
He
Nice.
could shoot, but technology challenged.
This is overrated.
I don't even know where to begin. Let's work backwards here. Craig, how long did it take you? Howie is short for howitzer, which you're famously known for with your shot. One of the best shots I've ever seen in my time watching lacrosse. How long did it take you to kind of develop that shot of yours?
Oh, long time. Lots of practicing.
What kind of things did you do to get it to there?
Shoot till you're hot, baby.
And have Popeye forearms.
And the nickname is, my dad's name is Howie as well.
Okay, well, I didn't know that part.
This is my theory on how come Howie was putting the ball in the net so accurately. When you score, you don't have to run back.
That's right. It goes in and just goes to a face-off. You don't have to chase anybody.
That's right.
And how about you, Mr. Durrani? Where'd the dude come from?
Oh gosh, that was Dave Wedlock gave me that moniker back in '73 when I was with the Adanacs. I used to dress a little bit flashy, I guess, by most standards at the time, and so Diamond Dave came up with the nickname, and it stuck. Surprisingly, there's some people that never even knew what my first name was. So, but yeah, no, it came from Dave Wedlock when I was with the Adanacs.
Well, I'll tell you what, being a young kid in Coquitlam and going to watch the Adanacs on a Saturday night, and when the Bellies were in town, you were always one of the guys that just kind of stuck out to me, and I was fascinated and had my eyes fixed on. I don't know whether it was the mustache or the high socks or the short shorts or the way you played, but you just kind of stood out for me. And I distinctly remember watching you as a young kid. And I'm just looking at the numbers here, Dave, and 9 man cups, winning 5. That is some pretty incredible stuff. Like, did it ever get old to you going to man cup after man cup? Probably not.
Not at all. That was, quite frankly, that's why I played the game. I got a taste of it in '76, thanks to the Sand Bellies picking me up.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there, because I know this is a bit of a famous story with Casey Cook and him going out and acquiring you from Coquitlam. Can you tell me how that trade kind of came to be and what was involved with it?
I would suggest that I had a little bit of a falling out with the coaching staff and management with the Adanacs in '78 and '79. They probably weren't happy with me, and I wasn't happy with some of the things that they were doing. And I guess Casey kind of got wind of it and approached the Adanacs about making the trade. And I kind of got the impression that they were only too happy to trade me away. And quite frankly, it was a great rebirth for me to come over to the Sand Bellies at that time. And it certainly made me want to win more. And then as we got in, we had a really good team. Casey built a really, not only a cerebral team, but a physical team, and acquired some good pieces with, Ben and Ogie, and we had a great supporting cast. Everybody played for each other. But once you got the taste of the Man Cup, that's what you were playing for. And for me, I hate to say this, but the regular season was, okay, you got to do that. But it was all geared to go to the Man Cup and win the Man Cup.
Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of how I ended up in New West as well. A little falling out with the coaching staff there in Coquitlam. Next thing you know, I'm up on. So you weren't the only one there, Dave Durrani. Paul, welcome back. I know we're all excited about an upcoming WLA season, which we'll maybe talk about here in a few minutes. But you got a pretty good taste of winning early on in your playing career, winning 3 Minto Cups along with Rod Bannister and a bunch of other great junior Lakers under Jack Crosby there. And you just kind of brought that winning tradition and winning attitude with you to New West and won 3 more.
I was lucky, Jake, to be, surrounded by great players everywhere I went. So, I say I won the lottery twice. I landed in Burnaby with the Cablevision at the time and surrounded by great players and a tradition of winning and an expectation of going to the Minto Cup. And then, and then getting drafted by New West, it was a dream come true to play for the organization that had that rich tradition, and I had the pleasure of playing with Wayne Goss and Ben Hieltjes and Dave Durante and Eric Kaus and Jordy Dean, and the list goes on, and Rod Bannister. So you're surrounded by excellence, Hall of Famers, whose objective was, to win the Mann Cup. And so the culture was magnificent. I couldn't ask for anything else. The experiences were memorable, to say the least, on and off the floor. Great team camaraderie, and I carried the lessons that I learned and the friendships that I had with me into coaching, and to this day, I value that experience and being part of the organization as a significant part of my life.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because, not that guys didn't want to win or that culture wasn't there in Coquitlam, but when I got to New West from Coquitlam, it was an instant, like I just kind of looked around at these guys who had been, to Mann Cups in the last couple of years, and you could just see a different level of intensity and commitment that these guys had to winning championships that just wasn't there or around the league. Like, it was the bellies, and that was it. Did I hear Paul call you the king of the sub shot?
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
Well,
was that the go-to? Was that
to me, it always stood out. Paul doesn't agree with me about this, but I always remember seeing the subber coming from Paul, and there weren't a lot of other guys doing that. You don't agree with me, do you, Paul?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it took a few, only surpassed by another belly, Derek Dixon, who is probably the king of kings of sub shots. I'm sure Dude and Ben, I can see them laughing now, of course, but at the end of the day, I was comfortable to play a role. I was surrounded by great goal scorers, so I was happy, when there was a scarcity of left-handers, of just having the ball and passing it off to great players. And Jake, you mentioned the tradition. You walked in the room as a rookie, and Wayne Goss is there. Well, sorry, he was a legend. He was in his last couple of years of playing, and you're part of a family, led by Jack Fulton, who's sitting in the room here. It's just the history and tradition. The moment you walk in and put on that jersey, there were expectations. They were high, and they were to win, and you were surrounded by excellence, and you had to step up to that level.
Yeah, for me, it was guys like Todd Lorenz, and Eddie had just retired the year before, but he was on the bench, and I was lucky enough to sit down in the dressing room right beside the King and Jordy Dean, and it was so surreal to me. I was like, holy shit, I'm sitting beside Jordy Dean right now, and out on the floor. And it wasn't too long before he, whipped a shot pass at my head in practice. I was like, okay, this is what it's all about here to be in the West.
Before you go to the next question, Big Two, yeah. I want to chime in here with a total.
Okay.
And I want to say something about another way people can contribute. We are about 10 minutes away from doing the 50-50. As soon as you said Jordy Dean, the total went up to 1705. Must be
not surprising.
Excellent. So we can get higher than that. And I just want to encourage people. The other thing is, if you don't want to buy a ticket or go in the draw, we've got a donate page, and you go in and you can donate the amount of a retired jersey. So you can go in there and donate 5, 6, 7. And if you want to, you can go up to 19, or you can put them all together and have the all-star lineup and donate $72. So that's what happens when you add up all the retired jerseys.
Paul, tell them to go to my original Sandbelly jersey number, which was 110.
Exactly. There you go.
No,
exactly.
I got to hear this story.
I like that one. That's particular. That little inflation makes it. I love it. I have a question for you guys. And I'll start with Doug. One of the things I remember seeing about the way the Bellies played that stood out compared to other teams was poise. It seemed like you guys never, ever, ever got nervous up there. You could be down by 2, 3, 4 goals late in the game, and you still played as though you were ahead, and you still continued to have that. And I noticed a lot of the guys sitting on this call right now have gone on to be leaders even after they played the game. Is there a coincidence there? Is leadership part of what it was like to be a part of the Sandbellies club at that time?
Paul, I think a lot of it has to do with what Paul Dal Monte just said a few minutes ago. It was the opportunity to be around excellence all the time. And you did not want to quit out on the floor. You did not want to do anything poorly, because you would disappoint the guy sitting next to you. And I think that you take those lessons and you apply those lessons to everything you do in life and business and education, coaching, whatever. And I think that's really what what really stood out for me and why I wanted to be a belly. I gave up my my draft pick so that, you know, I could be a belly.
Pretty amazing. You continue to be involved in lacrosse in a big way. There's a number of folks here who do, but Doug, talk a little bit about what you're doing to help grow the game. You have a pretty unique thing that you've been involved with for a number of years with the foundation. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the foundation was developed to kind of set aside the funding for the Canadian Lacrosse Association, so that if you know, Sport Canada ever took away the funding, that lacrosse could stand on its own. And so Bill Hutton, Jim Burke, Jim Calder, a number of people over the years, we got together and really got this foundation set up, and, you know, have created a legacy fund that is available to Lacrosse Canada when the funds are needed. And guess what? That was a big opportunity during COVID, when no registrations came in across the country, no money was coming in. So the foundation was able to step up and really help help make sure the game did not fall on bad times when it really could have.
Well, I want to just take a second before we go back to Jake and let him ask a question of the alumni, but it's interesting because sitting to my left is Jack, who was one of the original driving forces for the Hall of Fame. And the CLF, as the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation, has been really a powerful force. And Doug, we've got to thank you and some of the names you just mentioned, because you guys have really helped to grow that part of the game as well, making the Hall of Fame really something we can all be proud of, and something that's kind of come into the modern era. So it's kind of interesting to be sitting with somebody who started and somebody who's helping in a big way to continue growing it.
I just want
I'll let you
to
continue with questions.
Yeah, sorry, I know we're running a little short on time here, so I hope I had a chance to kind of get to everybody, but I'll go back to Benny Hieltjes here. And you being a New West kid, Ben, and I'm sure watching a lot of lacrosse when you were kind of growing up before you became a senior Sam Belly, I want to ask you, what is the craziest thing you ever saw happen at Queen's Park?
Well, I didn't see it happen because I was part of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
But after I saw it in the news, I thought, man, that was crazy. But I didn't realize it till the next day.
You did, for real, right? And for people that don't know, we're talking, I want to say 96 man, 95 man cup, 95 man cup at Queen's Park, and just a hellacious, vicious cross check from Miles General to the back of your neck. And I want to say game one, and pretty early in that
like
game.
1 minute in, wasn't it, Benny? Was only
yeah.
Hey, Jake, ask Benny what hurt more, Mike Coyle in 92 in the throat or the back.
The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just back up from your camera a little bit.
It's all right, switch seats.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Neither Rick were good experiences.
No.
What are some of your most memorable experiences then, Ben? You got some man cups there, but I mean, just the whole thing, a New West kid getting to put on the senior Sam Belly jersey and in a long storied career and a successful one at that, you got to have a couple of good memories as well.
Oh yeah, but you know, we've talked about this as alumni before, and I know Paul on some of our conversations. There's no one or two memories that really stick out in my head, but it's just the sequence of things over the years. And we've talked about the culture and the camaraderie and family and all those words that come up in these conversations. And those are the things that stick with you over the years. It's, you know, I remember a few goals here and there and a couple of, you know, parties and championships, but there's really nothing that I can say, you know, this is a highlight that, you know, I think about on a regular basis. It's just, you know, really some really good years and really good people that I've met along the way. And that's the thing that sticks out. It gives you the good feeling about, you know, the experience we had and the families and the relationships that were developed over the years.
Yeah. And Howie, like you and Ogie and Manger, and I know Joey went home and stuff, but there was a lot of guys that came from the East out to the West and just kind of never went home. What was it about the Bellies and New Westminster that kept you here?
Just like everybody else has said, the organization was good. I came from Peterborough, which was a good organization as well. Had some good times in junior there.
You felt a little bit guilty leaving Peterborough too, didn't you?
Especially when my dad was coaching the seniors team and I left. That probably didn't go over very well, but
No.
I always said I wanted to come out west and play, and I came out and played and never went back.
And you met your wife, and you got a kid now. Is your kid still playing? Are you coaching?
Yeah. 2 kids, girl and boy.
How old's Blake?
Blake is 21 and Lexi's 16.
21's not a kid anymore. It's amazing. I remember when he was just a baby. That's rather remarkable.
Yeah, Blake's playing junior B in New West one, and Lexi's made the Canada Games team from BC for box. So we got to go back to Niagara Falls.
Well, I remember Howie always used to have at least one salmon belly party a year out there in Surrey. We had a big bocce tournament. I'll never forget the year where Kurt Malowski tried to convince Don to let him start a fire in the backyard just on the lawn.
Yeah, that didn't go over very well.
Hey, before we continue on here, we're about 2 minutes away. If anybody wants to buy a ticket, I think they got 1 minute left, actually. We're still stuck at 17:05. And as much as I like honoring Jordy, I think we need to get that sucker up a bit. We're going to draw here in just a minute. So, folks, go and buy a ticket because we're going to draw in just a sec.
Okay, I'm going to ask Paul Dal Monte the last question because WLA season is starting. Of course, Paul has been the commissioner, I want to say since 2017. Might be off on that, but hopefully not. Paul, it's been a long time off here for the WLA without any lacrosse. I know you're excited to have it back, as am I. Maybe just a quick note on what fans can expect. Some rule changes coming up here as well, but what can fans expect to see this WLA season?
Yeah, thanks, Jake, for that, and definitely looking forward to it. I think all of our clubs are anxious to get back on the floor after 2 years absence. But you're right, some rule changes for sure to speed up the game, so fans will notice new face-off restraining lines, 8 seconds to get over center and over back on center, possession required to create a whistle if you got a delayed penalty. And a handful of others, all designed to keep the game flowing and highlight and profile the game, which is a high-speed game. So we're excited about that. We're back with, you hosting most of the webcasting 62 of 63 games, but our season opener, which is the Salmon Bellies in Victoria to face the Shamrocks, is live on Czech TV starting at 8 o'clock Friday, May 27th. So we're really excited to be partnering with Czech TV and have that game broadcast over the air. So, we're thrilled. Lots of good things going on. Some good social media and web stuff, thanks to Jake Richardson and Mackie Jenner, our social media coordinators, are doing a wonderful job. And you're on Facebook Live with us Monday night with our head coaches with our first Facebook Live event. So looking forward to doing that as well. So lots of good things going on and anxious to get back on the floor.
Yeah, hopefully the people don't get too sick of me. I think I'm calling 42 out of 45 games here in the mainland, and I could not be more excited about it. Paul, I think we're at the big moment here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's pull it up here and you'll run the draw right here. So Ray Durante, you have just, look at that.
Come on.
Number 10 has just won. So look at that. So you have just won, Ray, and congratulations to you. I guess I don't have to make a call here. That is
you better have one. No, that's Ray, not
That's
Dave.
my brother.
Oh, sorry, I just realized. Oh my gosh, radar!
He might be able to show his face in Queen's Park now that he's
exactly. Oh, so there you go. Well, I totally gapped on the fact that it was Ray there, but Ray has. We've got
I'm pissed off. It's not me.
Community as well. So there you go. So we won't show Ray's address to everybody, but we'll stop the share there because we don't want everybody knocking at Ray's door to ask for the money. But,
just send it to me.
Find out if that. Hey, you can call your brother and see if he can borrow some money, Dave.
No, just give it to me and I'll make sure he gets it.
Okay, I totally trust that.
Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the evening here, Paul. I just want to thank everybody that made time for us here on Feed the Fish. I appreciate you letting me do this. So to Jack Fulton, Kevin Crowley, Matt Disher, Rick Mang, I'm doing this off the top of my head, Doug Deschner, Paul Dal Monte, Ben Hieltjes, Craig Stevenson. Who am I missing here?
Oh,
Ray Porcelato.
Kevin Crowley, Ray Porcelato. Yeah, the list goes on. And we want to thank all these folks that are on your screen as well. Make sure that you support them. And remember, the auction is actually still going till 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So we really can't thank everybody who's been a part of this. And Big Two, I got to thank you. I got to thank these guys who've been a big help to us. Bernie wasn't able to make it tonight, but got to thank these guys for all the work they've done, because your heart and soul for the game, and it makes a big difference. So I got a little thank you for you next time I see you, Jake.
Awesome. I need a second coffee mug. Just
there you go. Hey, might be able to work that out too. Anyway, so everybody, we want to thank everybody who's been a part of this. Whether you were a guy who called in and participated in the broadcast itself, whether you bought a 50-50 ticket. But remember, we haven't been on the floor for over 1,000 days, and WLA lacrosse teams need their fans to get out and support them in big numbers. And the Sandbellies, in particular, we've tried to keep the game going here in New West through these last couple of lean years, and we really want to see folks out there June 2nd as we open up the season against the Burnaby Lakers.
Can't say it any better than that, Prez.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you on the around Queen's Park, and thanks again.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jack.
guys.